Hi guys, it's Sarah from Book Nerds and Fangirls. Today I'll be doing my July wrap-up. I was so happy with my July book readings because I managed to read 6 books despite it being one of the busiest months of my life. My niece was born last month, and that was very exciting because I got to stay at my home in my hometown for a week visiting her, and she's just the cutest, I swear. Shady. Sorry, my cat keeps on wanting to distract me. Hi, Shady. Hi, Shady. I also went to go see, I think, maybe one movie. I'm not 100% sure if I saw more. One stuck out really clear to me. I went to go see Baby Driver this month. If you haven't seen Baby Driver of Ansel Elgort, I recommend you do because it's such the greatest movie I've seen this year so far, besides Wonder Woman. That's another thing. I didn't go see it in July. I wanted to go see it in June. But those two movies are my absolute favorites of this year so far. I also went through my bachelorette party this month, and it was also my birthday month this month. So that's another thing I had this month. And also, one of the most exciting things that happened to me this month was that I got married this month. So happy. So happy, beyond overjoyed, and I loved my wedding so much despite very upsetting setbacks, like it was an outdoor wedding and it rained that day. It was storming rain too, it wasn't light rain, and some of my decorations got ruined that I worked so hard on, but it still ended up being a fabulous wedding because of my friends and my fiance / new husband now scrambling to get everything ready for me so I would have a perfect wedding, and it was awesome and amazing. And I also went on my honeymoon this week while participating in Booktubeathon. So I'm back home now. I'm glad to be back home, even though the place we visited was awesome. I got to experience a lot of firsts this month as well. Well, my vacation / honeymoon. This is my first time being an aunt, and that's a new first for me. I got to participate in Booktubeathon for the first time, even though I didn't really do that well because I only read one book, but it checked off 3 of the challenges that were in Booktubeathon, so that was awesome. I picked a book that I knew would check off like at least 3 out of the 7 challenges. Because there was no way I was gonna read 7 books on my honeymoon, no less. I got to ride a ski lift for the first time. That was very exciting. Had my first kiss on a ski lift too. I've never done that before. There's also another first, but I'm not gonna mention that in a video because I'll get flagged for mentioning that. But I also had another one of my first, and it was my first time up in the mountains because I've never really been up in the mountains for any vacation almost ever. Not one that I could actually remember. Hi, Shade. And then I also got to experience my first taste of German food. I've never had German food before, but I went to this restaurant up in the mountains, and it was so awesome. I had bratwurst for the first time, which, how did I ever live without bratwurst? I don't know. I know they also had pretzels in this restaurant, but you could get pretzels almost anywhere, so I didn't really count that as an experience. It was still a good pretzel, though. I really liked it. And last but not least, I had this tort thing. I believe they call it a tort, and it was raspberry and hazelnut, and oh my god, it was so awesome. I wish I knew how to make it, but I'm pretty sure I would have to go back to this restaurant to get it, and yeah. yeah, so that's all that happened to me this month. Now let's get on to the books that I read this month because, oh my god, there's like 6 of them, and I was impressed with myself. I was on the move. I was busy. I had a lot of setbacks this month when it came to my wedding, but managed to get through them with flying colors. Colors, all thanks to an amazing group of people that I call my friends. My friends and my hairdressers and everyone and my family, and then it was just so awesome. So awesome. This month was amazing, and I hope next month is as great, but let's face it, it's probably not going to be, because what could beat your wedding? Wedding month and your birthday month, too. So let's get started. The first book that I read, I actually read more in June than I did in July, but since I didn't have it in my June wrap-up, and it was a little bit closer to the end of June, I'm gonna count it in this one. So the first book I have for you guys here is the first book in A Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy. Well, it's not a trilogy now. They're having a spin-off in the series where it's other sets of characters, but I'm gonna call it a trilogy because it's Farah and Rhysand, and they deserve their own trilogy. Next ones could be kind of spin-offs. So here I have A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. If any of you guys watched my Throne of Glass book talk, I wasn't impressed with it. I hated Throne of Glass, all because of Selena Zeldorian, and I love Farah. Especially in the last 2 books, I love Farah. This one, she was okay. I liked her. She was beginning to grow on me as my favorite protagonist of all time for at least this year. So I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 8 out of 10 stars. 10 stars, and that was mostly because of the ending of the book, because I didn't know how to feel about Tamlin in this, and I'm so glad I switched ships, like the second book, because Farah and Rhysand are just my babies. My babies, and I love them so much. So much. And Tamlin, even though the 3rd book he was a little bit better, I still want him to go fuck himself because I hate him for what I did in the 2nd book. But no spoilers. If you want to know my full thoughts, I'll link all 3 of my reviews for these books down below, as well as my other reviews for all the other books, except the last 2, because I haven't made reviews for the last 2 because I've been on my honeymoon all week, so we'll see if I get around to actually, making that. The 2nd book I read this month, well, technically read, I actually listened to it on audiobook because it was on iBook, so I listened to it, and that was Looking for Alaska by John Green. I gave this an 8.7 out of 10 stars. 10 stars because I absolutely loved it. It is a great book about dealing with hard subject matter and a new setting and just being by yourself for the first time. It was a little slow to start, and I hated it. I was about to give it a 5 out of 10 stars until the halfway point of the book when a tragedy happens in it. And I think it was one of my favorite John Green novels so far, even though I haven't read his other novels. But I've watched The Fault in Our Stars and Paper Towns, and I don't think they're gonna impress me book-wise as much as Looking for Alaska did, because Looking for Alaska is one of John Green's darker novels, and I really liked the character of Alaska. I'm not sure how I felt about the main character, because I didn't even know his name for half the book because he went by a nickname by his book. So I don't know. We'll see how I feel about it in my end of the year awards slash best and worst books of 2017, because I actually am to where I was last year, which was 10 books. I'm hoping to get at least a little bit more in, so it's a little bit better, but we'll see. The second book I've read this month is gotta be one of my favorite books of this year so far. And are you actually surprised that that's probably gonna be one of my favorites? And that's A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I gave this a 9 out of 10 stars because I absolutely adored this book. I might not have given it a 9 out of 10 stars in my review. But it's definitely one of my favorites. There was almost absolutely nothing wrong with this book. I just loved it. I had very few complaints about this book. And who knew I would like the Hayes and Persephone retelling as much as I did. In this book. It was perfect in every way, and I couldn't ask for a better book in this trilogy. And it was so awesome. And then coming off after A Court of Mist and Fury, I really wanted to finish this series, so I picked up and read A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. This book I didn't like as much as I liked A Court of Mist and Fury, but it was better than A Court of Thorns and Roses. I think, like, if you want to hear my thoughts on this, I also have a book talk for this. Warning, I actually was drinking alcohol while I was recording this, so if I seem a little bit off, that's why. I was just having one of those days where I really just wanted to drink alcohol and do a book review. And yeah, it didn't really translate well, I don't think. But I'll link that down below for everything. The next book I read this month, it was actually a library book, as well as my other one that I'm going to mention. So I have two that I'm not going to be able to show here. And the next one I have is A Song Will Save Your Life by Leela Sales, I think her name is. And I didn't really like this book as much as everyone else did. I gave it a 5.9 out of 10 stars because of one very specific and annoying thing that was just consistent throughout this book. It was a fine story. It wasn't a great story. I thought it would be more meaningful than it was. And I guess I had such high expectations for this book that when it wasn't met, I literally lowered down the score. But one thing I will say that I didn't like about this book that made it to where it was so low on my tone pool was the love interest in this book. I absolutely hated Char. He is like the extreme definition of a fuckboy. And if you want this book talk explaining why I think Char is the ultimate definition of fuckboy, comment down below and let me know, and I'll give a few examples of why I give this book such a low rating because of Char. So if you want that, just let me know down below and I'll make one. And the last and final book I have for you guys this month is If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. I gave this book a 7.5 out of 10 stars. I am very particularly picky when it comes to my contemporary novels because I read a lot of contemporary novels about mental health. And I think the reason why I gave this book a lower score than most people do was because I really wanted to know more about the transition period. Because the transition period from whenever she was transitioning and dealing with her transition was the most interesting parts to me about this book. I liked the love interest. He was a fine love interest. I think they were cutesy and cute, but I think I'm really getting tired of contemporary romances in YA. Don't ask me why, it's just a thing. I guess I read this book at the wrong point of my life, and I don't know. It's just I'm being very particularly picky about my YA contemporary romances nowadays. And then my next segment, because I have more than one, is books that I started reading this month but have not finished yet. finished yet. I probably won't get to them in August. I'm going to be straight up, because I have only 2 novels I'm going to read in August, and even the second one that I'm going to read might not happen because of how huge the first one is. And if you know what's coming out in September, you probably know what book I'm going to be reading that's going to take me almost all of August. But before I get started on that, let's get started on this. The first book I started reading in July that I haven't finished yet is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I got this copy on my honeymoon. And I absolutely love it. Love it. I went to a used bookstore. The bookstores where I went weren't very big. I think but they do have a lot. They have like 6 bookstores in where I went, and my favorite was my last one. But this is the very first bookstore I went to. And I got to page 10 of All the Light We Cannot See so far. It's okay. I'm liking it so far. I can't really say much about this because I've only been 10 pages in, but I know it's set during one of the World Wars. I'm pretty sure it's World War II, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but set during one of the World Wars in Paris, and it features a blind protagonist, which I'm excited to see. And it also includes a German soldier also. So I'm excited to see this. I can't wait to read it. I heard it's a fantastic novel, and I actually went in when my bookstore to search for specific World War II and World War stories, and I got 3 books. 3 books on my TBR, but I'm gonna start with this one. The next book that I read that I'm just on the fence about, and I don't even know why. It's a fine book. I guess I'm just not really entering contemporary romance at the moment. I think I've had like enough of contemporary romance at the moment. But the next book I read in the month of July, which I just started reading about 2 weeks ago, this week because I was on my honeymoon. So this is my travel book, which is probably why I wasn't into it as much as I wanted to be. Because a 10-hour car ride here and back while being my husband's navigator. What kind of distracted me from reading this book, and that's Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. I think this is a fine book, and it involves a bisexual main character who is more lesbian than bisexual, but that's not the problem with it. I think the problem with it is I read it while I was traveling, and I lost interest in it. So I don't know if I'll be continuing Ramona Blue. We'll see. I have this book until August 2nd because it's, as you can see, it's a library book. So I don't know how long I'll have this one. And I am on page 118 of this book. So here's to hoping I finish it. The third book I got on a spree of that I actually started reading yesterday because I was hanging out and my husband was playing Magic with a few of his friends, and my best friend as well, was A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I got this one in my Owl Crate for this month. I didn't take my Owl Crate because my Owl Crate like legitimately arrived the moment before I was heading off to vacation. So I didn't start reading it until I got back. Because of reasons. But I got to page 82 of this book so far. I'm liking it so far. I really like his love interest in this book. And the diversity of this book. This main character is also supposed to be bisexual. I think he leans more towards the gay side of bisexual, but it doesn't really matter to me. I really wanted to read more books about bisexual main protagonists because I don't really see them that often. I want to read a good one because I haven't seen a good portrayal of bisexual main protagonists yet, and I really want to. So this book. It just seems like I'm reading a lot of LGBT novels. Just go around because the next book I have here is The You I Have Never Known by Ellen Hawkins, which features a lesbian main protagonist, and for Ellen Hawkins, I've never seen her do LGBT in her novels, so I'm excited for this one. I've got to page 80 of this book. I'm not 100% sure what all this is about because I heard it's best to go into this book blind, and I've missed Ellen Hawkins as a writer. She's one of my favorite writers, and so far I haven't been able to catch up on any of her books, and it makes me sad. Because I want to read them, I really do, but I have other more interesting books that I want to read first before I read her books, if that makes sense. The next book I have here is a these are my maybe in my TBRs. I haven't started reading one. I've definitely started reading the other because it's been like a consistent read since I've got it because it's so huge. It's like the biggest book I've ever read. But before I get to that book, this is my August TBR. I made it very simple because my last book I'm gonna show you is like so huge that I might not even finish it in the month of August. I'm really hoping to finish it before the movie comes out, but we'll see. So the first book I have for you here is A Wrinkle in Time graphic novel. This novel's by Madeline Legols? I don't know her name. I'm sorry if I butchered it. This is a really beloved classic children's novel, and it just got adapted. I don't know how long it's been adapted into a graphic novel, but since the movie's coming out in December, I thought I'd read it. And look how beautiful this art is, guys. It's awesome, and I'm really excited to read it. I think I'll be reading this in between the book I'm reading now, so I don't get too overwhelmed of reading this book. But that huge hunger of a book that I'm going to be reading this month, and it's going to be my reading goal for this month, is It by Stephen King. Did you expect anything else besides It by Stephen King to be on this list? I watched the new trailer for It 2 days ago. So did my cat, by the way, and she got so angry with me afterwards, making her watch It. I'm going to rewatch the miniseries, too. So this is going to be the month of It before I actually go see It, which I'm definitely going to have a review for on my channel because it's It, and I totally love the story of It. I loved it when Tim Curry was It. I love the TV miniseries. This book so far is kind of and because it's mostly on the perspective of the adults so far through this book. And I think the real national treasure of this book is whenever it's told from the perspective of them as kids, because they don't expect bad things to happen to kids, but they do. And It by Stephen King is just one of his most famous novels. And so far, I'm proud of myself for at least getting page 165 of this big hunger, because this book is 1,080 pages, guys. So hopefully I'll finish it. If not, at least I'm gonna try to get to at least the halfway point of it. I think my goal for this book is to at least read 100 pages of it a day, so at least it'll take maybe 10 days to read it. So that's my goal. I have 31 days to finish it, guys. If that, because I'm in love, and I love it. Love this story so much, and I really want to read the actual story of it from Stephen King's perspective, because it's so awesome, and I love it. But there you guys have it. That was my July wrap-up and August TBR. What did you guys read in the month of July? Comment down below, let me know, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!